Well, hey, welcome to Let's Sit With This. I'm Kristen Calloway, a licensed therapist, and this is a place where we talk about hard things in a way that actually makes sense. More like chatting around a campfire than sitting in a therapist's office. Here, we talk about getting through hard moments, healing old hurt, and growing into someone that you're proud of. So pull up a chair, get comfy, and let's sit with this together. Well, hey, strangers. I've missed you guys. It has been quite a while since I've been on here. This has been such a hectic beginning of 2026. There's been lots of sickness going through my house, crazy weather and school closures, just unexpected professional stuff going on. And yeah, as much as I absolutely love this podcast, it doesn't pay the bills and it can't come before my family and my clients. So I am so sorry that I have not been on here. I'm just going to give the caveat right now. This episode's probably going to be a little more unhinged than most. Life has been so busy. Really, my only opportunity to record is when I'm at my office during my work day. And if it is filled with clients, I'm not able to record. So I have 18 minutes until my next client. So we have 18 minutes to do this episode. So here we go. So yeah, it's the middle of February and we're doing the January book from the therapist bookshelf. So listen, if you feel like things have fallen behind, you are in fantastic company because I also don't have my crap together. Okay. So it's also the middle of February and I haven't started reading the February book yet, but past Kristen picked a short book for this month, so we can all just give her a big round of applause and thanks for that. So let's talk about the January book, Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. Now, I encourage clients to be vulnerably authentic and honest, so I am also going to be vulnerably authentic and honest. I didn't finish the book, and I feel terrible about that. I don't feel totally terrible, but it's just a little disappointing. Created this podcast, I didn't finish the book. But let me explain why. So that is absolutely, there's no hate, no shade, nothing towards this book. I think it's incredibly practical and very helpful. I think it could help a lot of people, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm going to talk to you about why I didn't finish the book. I picked this book because I felt like I needed to. I did want to push myself outside of my comfort zone because this, even within the realm of like self-help, this is not a book that I would really ever want to pick up. But I also felt like this topic would appeal to people. So I tried something new, which isn't a bad thing, but I don't feel like I fully honored myself. I went back and forth about picking this book and I probably should have just trusted my gut, but you know what? Live and learn. There we go. So why did this book not really appeal to me? I'm not really into behaviorism. I do think behaviors are really important, but it's just not what I focus on a lot in my clinical work. It's just not how I look at people. I always want to look at what's behind the behaviors, what's beneath it, because I feel like the things that keep people stuck in behaviors that they don't want, or the things that keep people stuck from doing the behaviors that they want to do, need to be addressed from very like emotional, deep place. So yeah, behaviorism just feels surface level to me, and I just always want to go deeper than that. So it's not my style, it's not my interests, but of the chapters that I did read, I actually thought it was a good book. Let's talk about what about the book that I liked. A lot of my experience reading things that are all about behaviors and changing behaviors, I feel like the world has really gone in the form of like David Goggins-esque. And no hate to David Goggins, but David Goggins is like, there's a blizzard outside and you're going to go climb a mountain and you're sick with a broken foot and pneumonia and you just keep going. Like where it's like, you just have to do everything at all costs without any consideration. On the very first page of this book, everything that he was talking about was wrapped in the concept of self-compassion. And I was like, oh, a behaviorist who is all about self-compassion and insight. It's like, okay, I love this. it just felt very almost therapeutic. At times, it felt like he had been collaborating with a therapist on the stuff that he was talking about because he always took it back to self compassion and people having like a non judgmental, accepting stance of where they were at and where they needed to go. So I was very, very appreciative of that. What I thought was really helpful about this book was that, which I do appreciate, he's a researcher, he has his behavior lab. What I really liked about this book is that it was on the principles of changing behavior. And it wasn't, I mean, yes, he developed a strategy and he talks about the things that worked for him, but he's talking about creating the process that helps you change your behaviors. He's not telling you the 5 things that he did that revolutionized his life of waking up at 3 a.m. to cold plunge and then journal about life crises and then transcendental meditation upside down for an hour. And no hate if you do that. That's fantastic. But I love that it was just about these evidence-based principles that would allow anyone to see themselves within the pages of the book and apply it to themselves rather than trying to make their life fit into a box that somebody has found what works for them, which honestly, that's just my preference when we're looking at self-help books or things about change and growth. My preference is that it's written by somebody with credentials and it's more broad and it's not just about somebody's personal experience. I think there's a time and a place for that, but I feel like we can try to fit ourselves into that box of what worked for them, and we need to make what worked for them in the way that it worked for them. We have to make it fit for us. And people's lives aren't the same. What people have access to, what people have time for, what people's demands are all very different. So I liked that this book was just really about the process of working through, looking at the patterns and habits that you have now and the steps that you can take to change them. I also really loved his emphasis on being curious when things don't work. So he really emphasized not viewing falling back into old patterns or things like that as failures. He really emphasized trying to have a very curious, neutral stance to kind of look at it as a researcher of not that there's some moral failing within you, but that something you were doing wasn't fitting, right? Which I love that. I think that's what we all need to do. And also the concept of making change as absolutely small as possible. This, man, we are all so guilty of this. We want to do these big, huge things that make us feel better. And we feel like the teeny, teeny, tiny steps that we take just don't really count for much, that they have to be big. And I just loved that he talked about making it as absolutely small as possible. And one of his examples, it just cracks me up. He wanted to start working on push-ups or something. And so what he did to start building that fitness habit, after every time he went to the bathroom, he went and did 2 push-ups. That's it, right? Anybody can do that. You got a wall, you got a floor, everybody goes to the bathroom, lots more behind it. But it just literally as simple as that, which is what I talk about so much with clients if they want to do these things. I'm like, hey, let's just make it absolutely small as possible so that it's doable and it's sustainable, but also so that you can find some success, right? So, okay, has depression and social anxiety kept you from leaving your house? Okay, let's not set your first goal to be go to the mall and go shopping in the middle of a Saturday. Let's not do that. Let's have it be that you go check your mail, not in the middle of the night, right? Just stepping outside a little bit of your comfort zone. Somebody's really struggling with depression and personal hygiene has just really been a big struggle for them. And they're so ashamed that they haven't showered in a week or 2, that their hair is disgusting. They know they smell. Okay, order some baby wipes and just wipe yourself down. At least wipe the 2 P's, the pits and the privates, right? Do that. Make it as absolutely small as possible. And I just loved that he emphasized that. I think that's so powerful, and that's where we need to focus, because it is those teeny tiny things that build up to the big things. Okay. And I'm sure that there's more in that book that I probably would like if I had read it, but I dreaded reading it. And I found this somewhere, I don't know, it was probably some I'm weird. I'm in like reading Facebook groups. If you are too, I love that. But I just read this concept somewhere of not forcing yourself to finish a book that you hate. It's like, because if we need to have these streaks and you need to finish the book. No, if you truly hate it, despite, don't do that. And so when I found myself absolutely dreading reading the book, getting so bored reading it, trying to find excuses not to, I just had to be honest with myself and say, Kristen, you're just going to have to let this one go. So there we go. Now, let's talk about what I didn't like about the book, beyond just that it's not my thing. So the process and the steps that he had felt kind of convoluted. There was lots of names for principles. There was lots of acronyms talking about how they build upon each other. And it was like, okay, I'm reading this next chapter about this new topic and he's using this acronym. Okay, I have to go back. Like, what is this? It was just a lot. Now, I understand why he did that. If you want to have your program that you can trademark and write books about and have websites about and charge people for trainings and intensives and have people coaching and leading it, like, you have to make it very specific and detailed so that it's yours. Like, I get that. I'm not hating on him for it. I'm not hating on him for it. But I think that he applied his principle of breaking everything down to the smallest piece and building on it a little too much. I was getting confused about all these acronyms and these different steps and all of that. And he really emphasized like really understanding each part. I was like, I don't want to take the time to try to remember this. This is just kind of too confusing. So there's that. Yeah, again, I didn't finish the book, so I don't have more to say. But it was mostly that. It just felt a little too convoluted. And I don't think that every step that he had a name for like needed to have a name. So would I recommend this book? Yes, with caveat. That's probably going to be my answer for every book. So I think the book would be fantastic for people who are wanting to change their habits, learn about what's blocking them. I think that people changing some of the habits in their lives can really make a big difference for them. I think it's a great introductory book that is very broad, but very practical. And like I said before, I like that it's really about developing your process and finding what works for you. I do think the process is too detailed and I feel like you can get lost in the weeds. And so I don't feel like the emphasis is needed to remember all the different things that he had listed. So I feel just taking a step back from it and figuring out the steps that fit for you. And not everything needs to have a name. You don't need to fill out every single piece. That's okay. So I think it would be a good and helpful book. It's just not my thing. And that's okay. So February's book is How to Keep House While Drowning by Casey Davis. So the reason that I know about this book is because Casey Davis is a therapist that I came across on social media and I loved her content. I think her handle is Domestic Blisters. I loved all of her content about, I mean, just literally what it says, how to keep house while drowning, of just how to function in life when things are really overwhelming and you're having a really hard time. And one of the reasons why I resonated with that kind of content was because it's all about self-compassion, all about meeting yourself where you're at and making your life work for you rather than trying to force yourself to fit into these standards or expectations that, clearly aren't coming from you or aren't about you or aren't fitting you. So I'm super excited to read this book. It's a very short book, which works well because it's the 11th and this is a short month. So it has all worked out well. So let's get reading the next book. And hopefully I will have the next episode out before the end of March. So I've missed you guys. Thank you for joining me on this book club journey of the Therapist Bookshelf. And I'll see you guys soon.